everybody, Andrew here, and today I want to talk about the most crucial pedal that I have on my pedal board. It took me years of playing live shows to figure this out, and I really wanted to pass the tip along to you. So here's the pedal board that I just made, and I've made it a point to put one of these pedals on every single board that I have from now on. And right now it is the Vertex Boost. The pedal that I'm talking about today is a post-gain clean boost for your solos. Now, I'll preface this by saying if you are touring or playing shows with a dedicated sound person and there's someone that you know is going to raise the fader on the PA system when you're taking a solo, you might not need this pedal. But for me, being in situations playing in club gigs or playing in touring bands where there's often just a house sound guy at a venue, this pedal is crucial for getting your solo to be able to be up above the band, and then for you to also hit it again to bring your volume back down to where you're sitting in like a rhythm level with the band. It took me a really long time and a lot of struggle to figure this out. And let me run you through a scenario. I mean, you can tell I spend a lot of time thinking about my tone. I have my tones set up, I have my clean tones, my distorted tones, I even have like a fuzz tone, but I spend all that time getting those tones on my pedal board, and the show comes around, it comes time for me to take a solo, I click on my lead pedal and I'm playing this really great lead that I'm really happy with. And then after the show, maybe you go up to one of your friends that, you know, one of your friends that kind of pays attention to your guitar tone. And how was that solo on that song? I thought that was really good. And they're just like, I couldn't hear you. You know, I couldn't hear it above the band. And that's such an awful feeling for me. And I could imagine for anyone out there that spends so much time getting your tone together to have that cool lead, or maybe it was even like an improv thing and you like played something cool that like you never even thought of before, and it just was totally lost on the audience because it was not loud enough. So I had to learn the hard way, and I finally made sure that on every pedal board I have, unless I'm at one day touring with a sound guy or a sound person that knows that they can bump me up for those solos, this is the most important pedal on my board, because all of the other pedals for, let's say, your lead tone or like your shine out moment, none of them are gonna matter unless the audience can hear it. Now, I don't want to make this video super long, so let me explain to you quickly how I have this set up. What you want is a clean boost. Now, there are all kinds of dirty boosts. This is actually a pretty clean boost, but it has a gain knob on it. There's things like the EP booster, which I would consider to be like a colored boost. Not only is it a volume boost, but there's also a pretty significant like EQ shift. I find that it raises like the bass sometimes, and it can also like dampen the highs. That's how I hear an EP booster. Everyone describes it differently, so you can just kind of take my opinion for what it is. What you really want is something that's going to just take the tone that you already have and just bump it up in volume only. The way that you want to do this is you want to do this post gain. That means that you have all your gain pedals. Let's say like this, for instance, is like my highest gain pedal, like just providing the gain. I want to put the boost after that. And in this case, this is the first pedal after this pedal. So I have all my gain pedals, my compression, my fuzz, my light drive, and then like my heavy drive. And then after that, I just have a clean boost that all it does is just raises the level up so that everything before it is just that much louder. I hit it right before I play my solo, and then when the solo's over, I turn it off. And sometimes I forget to turn it off, and then like my sound is too loud for a second, but that's the idea, is that you are now in control of how loud you want your solo to be. And it doesn't just have to be for like your 8-bar or 16-bar solo. It could be just for a little lick that you want to pop out maybe while you're playing some light, like sort of leady kind of accompaniment like behind. There's like, let's say there's a rhythm guitar player and you're playing maybe like some little lead fills kind of to like play like call and response with the vocalist during the verse of a song. This pedal's great for that too. It basically just gives you that little bit of control. Now, this is a Vertex boost, and Vertex makes a bigger boost pedal. This is the one that they just came out with. This is, you know, and I can say confidently that this is a very transparent, clean boost, meaning that, like I said, it just raises the volume. But there are also some boost pedals that will, yes, they will raise your volume, but they will also change your solo tone. And if you want to use one of those pedals, that's totally fine. Just make sure that you're okay with what's happening to your tone when you hit the pedal. Another great pedal that would serve this utility function, let's call it like a utility function, would be like a EQ pedal, like a Boss EQ. even with just that last slider on the EQ that just says level, you're not really even changing any kind of EQ settings. You're just bumping the level up. And then let's say for your solo tone, you might also want a little bit of bump in like the mids or a little bit of bump in the highs. You can do that with an EQ pedal. So if you find that you want like an EQ shift plus just pure volume, an EQ pedal would be a good option for you. Now it's important to note where this goes in your signal path before your amp. And what I mean by that is I use this pedal board mainly in front of a clean amp. And that means that it's clean and it has a lot of headroom. And when I hit it with the pedals, that's how I get my gain sound. And by putting the boost after my gain pedals, the amp still has enough headroom for me to push it just a little bit further before it begins to distort. Because that's what happens with amps. I mean, amps have a certain amount of clean headroom, meaning that it's clean, you turn the volume up, it's cleaner, and then you turn the volume up far enough and it starts to distort. Now that distortion sounds great. Marshalls, a big Marshall distorts kind of early, around like 4, and basically stays distorted the entire time. If you're using an amp where you're getting the gain from the amp, and then you plug in a boost in front of that gain stage, you're gonna notice that it's not gonna give you a clean level bump like I'm talking about, because you need to make sure that you place the boost after the gain stage. What you'd wanna do in that case is place the boost in the amp's effects loop. And if the amp doesn't have an effects loop, it can be very difficult to get this kind of clean boost. There's certain things that you can do. I know Marshalls, like old Marshall heads, don't have effects loops, and you can get stuff like the Fryette Power Station, which goes in between the amp and the cabinet and has an effects loop for you to put in like a boost pedal or a delay. So if you have a Marshall or an amp that's getting gain but doesn't have an effects loop, it can be a little difficult to get this, but again, there are ways around it. Despite how many times I've played solos and they haven't cut through the mix, and I've like dealt with this for years to try to get my setup going right, I look at pedal boards all the time on Instagram and all over the internet, and I rarely see, at least as far as I can tell, a lot of guitar players that have this kind of pedal on their board. So I would love to hear in the comments, what do you guitar players do to make sure that your solos can cut through the mix? Do you just rely on the sound person to sort of see that you're soloing and probably eventually maybe bump you up if they're paying attention? Or do you have another way of doing this? I know that some other ways are to set your amp a little higher, like for your solo volume, and then for the rest of the set when you're not playing lead, to just back your volume down. I've had a problem getting that to be a really reliable gain boost setting, because not only do I like to use my volume knob to vary the stages of my gains in my gain pedals and in an amp that has gain, but I also love the fact that on any kind of boost pedal, you can just set it and you can mark it with a piece of tape, or I like to sometimes put a little rubber grommet underneath these knobs so that they don't move. And every time, once you get to the gig, you can set how high you need it to be with whatever band you're in. And every single time, this is basically just like it's a boost switch. It's like boost into, into bonus mode or whatever, like star power in Mario Brothers. It's just a boost that takes you right where you need to be for the solo and then takes you right back to rhythm when you're done. It's one of the most reliable things I've seen, and it's something that I really have gotten hip to and that I absolutely had to share with you guys. But please leave a comment with whatever you guys do to make sure that the audience can hear your solos. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video. I plan on doing a full rundown on this pedal board, but I wanted to make this quick video just to show you guys what my method is as we're starting to get back to gigging, and it might be something that you could consider putting on your board. I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, take it easy.